Okay, we're ready whenever you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Peters of Deeper Waters Apologetics, and I affirm a virgin birth. This little guy right here, who's not really happy right now but I'm holding him, is my cat Shiro. Yes, he is definitely not happy about being heard, but he's also the cutest little guy that I know. Good boy, Shiro. Daddy's gonna put you down now, okay? Alright. Now, even if you're not a cat lover, in particularly, many of you would absolutely balk at the idea of abusing an animal like that or hurting an animal. And if someone wanted to come to my house and hurt my cat, they would have to go through me to do that because the cat's like part of the family. And when I've been at a grocery store, even recently, I've seen a sign from CoverGirl Cosmetics saying that their products are not tested on animals. Now, part of me is wondering, okay, who are they tested on first? And if you watch the movie many times, you'll see that people are from groups like the Humane Society or any organization like that is there to make sure no animals are hurt while making a movie or a TV show. Okay, so I'm not advocating doing anything against animals like that. But why I bring that up is it seems so odd that we have such a soft place in our heart for animals. We wouldn't dare think of doing anything to animals. But yet, our very own species in the womb, we will think about doing something about. And this is just going to be a short video because in my last one, I talked about how the church needs to be the church and we need to speak out on certain issues. And one of those is abortion. And very thankfully, my pastor today did mention abortion a number of times in the sermon. I don't think he watched my video yet from last night, so props to him for that. And as I was thinking about making a video on abortion, I realized I'd be referencing Clinton Wilcox's work quite a lot, so I thought, why not just have him join me here for a quick video? So, Clinton, why should we care about the abortion debate?
Well, if pro-life people are correct that human life begins at fertilization, which we can argue scientifically and we can argue philosophically as well, and theologically also, if pro-life people are correct that human life begins at fertilization, well then roughly 1 million or so unborn children every year are killed in the United States. And so if we care about human life, if we value human life, then this is an issue that we should take seriously and we should fight against if we really do care about respecting the rights and value of all human beings.
Is this an issue that's just, say, the Bible versus science going on, that the only reason pro-lifers are pro-lifers is because the Bible says so?
Well, not at all. The pro-life position is consistent with Christianity and most of the, or probably all of the major religions, especially the theistic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam being the top three. But there are people who are not religious who are pro-life. There are people who are pagans and who are Wiccans and all sorts of different religious beliefs of people who are pro-life. So pro-life is not specifically a religious view. It's something that can be defended scientifically and philosophically, but it is consistent with Christianity. So you do see a lot of Christians who are pro-life, but it is not required that you be a Christian in order to come to a pro-life conclusion.
You can, in fact, be an atheist and be a pro-life person. I think
Yeah.
the late Christopher Hitchens and Robert Price today are both pro-life.
Right. Yeah. Nat Hentoff was a well-known journalist who was also an atheist and pro-life, and Don Marquis is an atheist philosopher who's pro-life. Bernard Nathanson was the president and founder of NARAL before becoming pro-life, and he became Christian later on in life. He converted to Catholicism, but he became pro-life when he was an atheist. So there are a lot of really well-known atheists who are pro-life, and there's also a major pro-life organization called Secular Pro-Life, which is run by atheists and I think one agnostic, and they of course are also pro-life.
Okay, since we're having to do things very briefly, give us the basic case for thinking that what is in the womb is a human life?
Yeah, I mean, you could really defend this in under a minute. We know that science teaches us that human life begins at fertilization. This is attested to by virtually all embryologists. In fact, there was a study done a couple of years ago that showed that 96% of biologists say that life begins at fertilization. So this is not something that's controversial. It's actually scientifically as scientifically sound as anything can be that human life begins at fertilization. We know that the unborn grow through cellular reproduction. We know that they metabolize food for energy. They maintain homeostasis. All these things which show that they are living things. They're also a member of our species. They have human DNA and they're the product of human parents. And we know that they're independent individuals. They are attached to the woman's body by the umbilical cord, but the woman's body does not direct their development. They direct their own development. The umbilical cord just brings nutrients and oxygen to the unborn child. And we also know that it's an organism because it's a member of our species. It's alive and it's developing itself from within into a more mature version of itself along the path of human development. And then philosophically, we also know that there are no substantial changes that take place from the point of fertilization until any point, until it becomes an adolescent, until it becomes an adult, an elderly person. There are no substantive changes which occur, which would change that human individual from one thing into something else. It's the same thing through all points in its development. And since it's the same thing through all points of its development, then that means that it's the same individual through all those points, which means that if it's wrong to kill that as an adult, it was wrong to kill that at every point it existed, including while it was in the womb.
Hey, do you have a link to this study you gave out for 96% of embryologists?
I do. I can send that to you later. I don't have it.
We'll
I don't
include
have
it
it
in the
right
description then.
Mm.
Okay. Now, does that mean, though, that what's in the womb is not just a human life, but also a person? Because that seems to be the main distinction going on. Because some people say, well, this thing in the womb, it can't think. It doesn't have a consciousness, all these other things. So it's not a person yet.
Yeah, the problem with that view is that being a person is not based on the kinds of things you can do or the kinds of functions you can perform. It's based on the kind of thing that you are. The founders of America said that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So being a person is about the kind of thing that you are, not the kinds of functions that you can perform. To say that being a person is dependent on your functions is actually to put the cart before the horse. Because just like the human has to exist before it can develop all of its human parts, the person has to exist before it can develop its personal properties. Things like consciousness, self-awareness, etc., are properties of persons. So there must be an experiencer of consciousness before there can be consciousness. There must be an experiencer of the self-awareness before there can be self-awareness. So all of these things are properties of persons. So the person must exist first. So this position ignores the fact that human development is a process. You start as a single cell and you eventually develop all of your parts, you develop all of your properties, those kinds of things. The thing about personhood being part of your the functions that you can perform is called neo-Lockean personhood, because it's based on a writing from John Locke in which he said that we hold persons accountable because they are able to reason and they can understand the moral law and know right from wrong. Modern philosophers take that and say, well, the unborn and infants can't reason. They can't understand right from wrong. They don't have, they're not conscious of their own desires, those kinds of things. So they must not be persons either. But that's to take John Locke out of context and to misunderstand what he was saying. He was talking about why we hold persons accountable. He was not talking about what kinds of things actually make persons persons. So this idea that you have to be able to engage certain properties before you can be a person is just completely wrong-headed, and it leaves out the whole concept of human development, and that human development is a process that occurs over time.
About how many women get abortions every day in America?
Well, it used to be roughly 3,300 every day. back when I first started doing pro-life work, it was, there were roughly, well, there were over 1 million abortions every year. That number, from what I've read, has gone down, but there's also some ambiguity there, because they might not count all of the chemical abortions that go on, like when a woman takes the RU486 pills and that kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, I think the number is sitting at around. Well, I'm not even sure. Yeah, I didn't have time to look up that number before recording here, but I think the current number is somewhere around 70 or 80,000 a year currently. But that's just based on trying to recollect it. I didn't have the time before we did this here to research that number.
Do you think pastors and churches need to be talking about the abortion issue a lot more?
Oh, absolutely. Pastors don't like to talk about abortion because they're afraid it's going to offend people who might disagree, or it might make a post-abortive woman in their congregation feel bad about the abortion. But the problem with that is, number one, if you don't talk about abortion, then there are likely going to be other girls and women in the congregation who will think there's nothing wrong with having an abortion and may go ahead and have one if they find themselves in a crisis pregnancy. But number two, abortion does harm women. And so if you have women in your congregation who've had abortions, then they're not going to be able to find the healing that they need if the pastor never talks about abortion. So these are things that pastors should be talking about, and be ready with some post-abortion resources. Organizations like Rachel's Vineyard, who does post-abortion healing, they need to be ready with these resources in case they have women or young girls in their congregation who need them.
Mm-hmm. And what can the average layperson who's probably watching this video do about abortion in their own area?
Well, there are a few things you can do. Obviously, you can talk about it with people people in your sphere of influence, at school, at work, at church, at your friends and family, those kinds of things. If there's a pro-life training nearby, say Justice for All comes to town, or you know of a pro-life speaker that's coming, go and take the training, or go and hear the speaker. Those kinds of things. You can take your pro-choice friends or your pro-life friends who need encouragement, that kind of thing. You can volunteer at a pregnancy care center that's local. There are a lot of them around the United States. In fact, you can volunteer your time, but a lot of times they also need resources. You can donate money to them, or you can donate resources, things like diapers and car seats and things like that, or even just ask them what it is they need, because they offer a lot of resources to women in pregnancies, but also to to parents who are in need as well. So those are just a few things you can do to get involved.
Okay, I'm going to be telling people how they can donate to my Patreon here, and there's going to be a link to that in the vid description. But I'd like to turn it to you also as we're wrapping things up. Do you have an organization that people can use to donate to you, and do you have a place where people can find you if they have more questions on abortion?
Yeah, well, if you'd like to donate to me, because as a full-time pro-life advocate, I do subsist off of financial donations. You can actually go to I do work for Life Training Institute, which is Scott Klusendorf's organization. So you can go to the Life Training Institute website at prolifetraining.com, and then you can click on donate at the menu on the top, and you can leave me a donation there. Just put my name in the notes section so they know to put the money that you donate into my account. You can give a one-time gift, or you can give monthly if you'd like to become a financial supporter of mine. And donations through them are tax deductible. I also do have a Patreon if you want some additional perks for donating to myself, and especially to the podcast that I run. It's patreon.com/prolifethinking. And then if you just want to find me online, you can find my work on the Life Training Institute blog and the Secular Pro-Life blog, as well as a few other well-known pro-life blogs. Plus, you can find me on Facebook. Just search for my name, or you can find me on MeWe. You can also find me on Twitter, and I do have an account on Parler, but they're having some having some issues right now. But I'm at Pro-Life Philosophy on Parler, and at Clinton_Wilcox on Twitter.
Okay, and one more question for you before I let you go on. You and here, do you affirm the virgin birth, which I do affirm?
I do affirm the virgin birth. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe. I hope to be producing more videos like this. There will be a way to donate to my Patreon as well, mentioned in the vid description. I really encourage you because I also really need your financial support as well. And I plan on covering some other issues that are highly political that Christians need to be talking about in some upcoming videos. But for now, I'm Nick Peters, and I affirm the virgin birth.